Hello, launchers. It's me, Tony. Hope that all is well with you guys. Um, so, I wanted to talk about something that has been heavily on my mind lately, and that is, that we talk about purpose, and I do coaching and consulting, and I basically help people activate that which is in them already, um, coach them through it and all that. But um, coach myself through my own thing as well. I wanted to ask you a question, and I've asked myself this question a lot lately. Has whatever God has given you, has He placed it in your careful hands, or has He placed it in your careless hands? There most often, of course, we're going to say He placed it in our careful hands because it's something we really want to do. We know that we're supposed to be doing it, we're meant to do it, and all that. And we are gung ho about doing it. And then something happens and we slip and trip and whine and complain, or we, whatever the case may be. So then it becomes our careless hands that He's placed it in. He may have placed it in our careful hands, but then we become a bit careless with it. And if we're not careful, we can slip, trip, fall, and stay there. And not necessarily for reasons that, when we look back on it, would make much sense, or we would want to kick ourselves for staying there for far too long, or not really being in that moment, experiencing whatever it is we're going to experience. Because with business or with new career or with anything that you're starting or doing in your life, you're going to encounter something. You're going to encounter something that seems like a bump in the road or what have you. But to slip, trip, fall, and stay there is not the way to go. And we all know that. But how do we get up so quickly? One of the things that came to mind is, for one, I talk about life giving energy all the time, and I know that's a big deal. And for some people, they not when they're starting something new rather, they don't watch the energy that's around them. Um, because obviously you can't stay around the same people or the same thing when you're trying to go someplace new. Um, that doesn't mean you drop everything and everyone, but it also means that you need to be aware and careful of what you're surrounding yourself with, because they may or may not understand where you're going and what you're doing, and that energy does not feed into what you're doing. It doesn't feed life giving things into what you're doing. So, synergy and energy are a big deal, which I've talked about before. Um, the other thing that kept coming to mind was a scripture about being fearfully and wonderfully made, and that's in Psalm 139. But it wasn't. Oftentimes, I think people stop there at that phrase, that line about being fearfully and wonderfully made. But what's bigger than that to me is to go further, go deeper. Oftentimes people want a quick answer, and not just a quick answer, but they're like, solve the problem for me now so that I can move forward. No, you have to go through the fire in order to get to the other side of it. Um, and the operative word there is through, like, not hop over, or um, you get to get a pass or get out of jail free card. You have to go through the experience in order for the times that you're slipping and tripping, um, for you to get the lesson that you need to learn out of it. Um, and so when I was reading in Psalm 139, then I kept going to 140, 141. So I kept on reading beyond, obviously, 139. And what happened, and I'm not sure, it's not the first time I've read it, obviously, but what happened is that all that I have been feeling for the past few weeks, um, And what I guess I was slipping and tripping about almost made me laugh, because just knowing that there's much life in the word, so much life in the word, and why I hesitated or paused for so long, I think there was a bit of fear for what the next step, what the next level is, but also needing to also release and get rid of certain things and certain energy that was around me, certain people that just needed to be released from that moment, um, from this time, from where I'm going. And I had to really go back in to what I know and ask God to search me. Um, God knows the depths of us, and I'm talking the very depths, the depths unknown about us. And I had to ask God to rescue me and to keep me and to sustain me and to um, show me His way and keep me on the path and hear my prayer, knowing that He does hear my prayer. Um, and as I praised and exalted and made sure that anything that I'm doing, I'm not looking for the glory for it, but giving Him the glory for it. But I also had to really let that phrase resonate with me. Is He placing it in my careful hands or in my careless hands? And perfection is not required, but I do know that at times we don't want to get overconfident that He's placed it in our careful hands and don't check ourselves. Don't ask Him to search us so that we can continue being on the right path with what He's called us to. Um, it's key. It's key. So the whole slipping and tripping is going to happen with whomever, no matter what. But to stay there, lay there, die there, no. Because you want to be rescued so that you can get to the next part of your purpose, that's not going to happen, actually. So what you need to do is get up knowing that, um, it doesn't matter that you have fallen, because everybody at some point will, but to learn the lesson, get the lesson out of it, understand what He was trying to show us about ourselves, and move forward. Move forward, move through it, and know that we will get through it. And remember, it was so amazing that you can be a strong believer, you can know the word, but um, you can get so entrenched in a moment that you forget that there's life in the word. And you, not that you forget, but you just let the moment overtake you, and there's life in the word just immediately, like water to a thirsty ground, really. So I encourage you to um, keep in mind that He has placed something in your hands. Um, be conscientious of whether or not He's placed it in your careful or your careless hands. And at times when you feel like you have become careless, then seek Him so that it can remain in your careful hands. I hope that you move forward with great energy, life-giving energy, and that as you activate the purpose that He's called you to, that you make sure that you seek Him in everything that you do. Take care.